Aloha, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is James Garland. He is a certified integrative nutrition health coach and certified professional health coach, but also the director of marketing of Pure TheraPro Rx, a class leading dietary supplement company with a strict focus on purity and efficacy. I love your mission. It says here his mission is simple: empower people with truth so they are not just buying bottles, but instead investing in better health. That caught my attention. I had to have it here. So I'm just reading your bio, James. The full bio will be at the end on the podcast notes. The question that I love asking everyone, because I'm very curious about these things, is almost like in a philosophical way of seeing life. How would you introduce yourself? Who is James in this very moment, in his own words?
Wow, that's a great question to start with. So, well, first, thanks for having me, Valeri. It's wonderful to be here. I enjoyed our chat earlier, and I'm honored to be on your show. If I had to introduce myself to like somebody I didn't know, I would say I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm very loyal to my family, to my wife, to my kids.
Mm,
Their health and wellness is the most important thing in the world to me. And then right behind that is my own health and wellness. And then I would say the health and wellness of everyone around me, like the whole world, America, every country.
mm,
And so
mm,
I have considered myself for probably 23 or 24 years to be kind of like a health warrior and trying to get
mm.
education out there, trying to empower people, trying to shine light on murky topics. Whether I could talk all day about this, but that's very much who I am. Is I feel like I'm a warrior for truth, a warrior for health. It's part of the reason why I settled here at this company and not a different company. But yeah, first and foremost, I'm a dad and a devoted husband, and I am an aspiring chef. I love cooking. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I love all of it. It's just beautiful. I mean, health is just the foundation, isn't it? And having a healthy mind, in the sense of this thing about connection, human connection, it's so powerful, isn't it? This is one of the topics that I love. Kind of, I mean, I can't help it, but to me, it's a way of learning, of growing, of kind of looking deeper into the nature of life and ourselves by connecting with others. And parents, see, I see that, how powerful that connection is. I'm
Mhm.
not a mother, so I don't have that experience, but it's everybody around me pretty much is.
Mhm.
So it's so beautiful. Well, I have a dog. They call like the I'm a mom, a dog's mom. So that kind of changed a lot for me. Isn't it
Yeah.
funny? I never thought that. Yeah, I would feel so connected to an animal. He's so wonderful. I think they bring like the best out of us. There's something about animals, children, and good people. Like I would say, your wife. Don't you feel that way too, James?
I do. I didn't. I'm kind of a new dad. I'm 44 years old, so I'm not
You're
exactly
young.
the youngest spring chicken. But I didn't have kids until really late in life. My oldest child isn't even 8 years old, and so I went over 30 years without having any kids. But I will tell you, before that, I've always been a dog person, and I had dogs, and
Mm,
they I agree with you. They help you bring out the best in yourself, and they help teach you about love and nurturing. And
mm,
sometimes we ignore like our own needs, but it's kind of like
yes.
whether it's extra sleep
Mm,
or rest or the best food. But it's amazing how we want to do the best for our pets. Like they can really teach you, if you're not already, to focus on health and nutrition and exercise. Like you want to take them for a walk, you want them to be happy and comfortable, you don't want them
yes.
sleeping on a pet bed made of maybe synthetic materials. You want them
Mm.
the best food and drinking filtered water. So that really was, I think, for a lot of people, it's like practice on how to take care of a human life, whether it's your own or
Mm,
baby.
mm, yes, yeah, yeah. Thank you for answering that question. I can kind of have this kind of conversation. That's some of the things that I feel is the foundation of well being, like connections. But how do we do that? Like, I'm curious to know from you. How do we balance taking care of our health and taking care of the health of people that we love, like children, pets, and wife, husbands? How do you do that?
Gosh, you're hitting me with these amazing questions right away. That is something I think a lot of people struggle with. So I'm glad you asked it. I will tell you,
Yes.
I've also struggled with it. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different personality. And I think some
Mm,
people, and I'm one of these people, go out
yeah.
of their way to take care of other people and make sure their needs are met before they take care of their own. I don't know
Yeah.
that that's always the best idea. Like you said, you have to find balance. If you
Right.
ever ridden in an airplane, which I assume most of your listeners have, they tell you, yeah, put your own oxygen mask on before you put anyone
Right.
else's on. And
Right.
I am practicing doing that in my life because right now,
Yeah.
the health and wellness of my wife and my kids are the most important thing in the world to me. But I also know that if I don't take great care of myself, I'm not going to be
Right.
able to show up and be the best version of myself for them. I'm not, it's important to me that I'm in a great mood and that I'm, ready to engage with them and joke with them and, laugh at their jokes. But if you're overtired, or you're not feeling well, or you're dehydrated, or you stayed up
Mm,
too late at a party the day before, you often don't,
mm.
you're not showing them the best version of yourself, and that can affect your relationship with them and how they grow up. So um, yeah, it's a great question. I think that you've got to balance taking care of yourself with other people. You can't only take care of yourself. That's not being a provider.
Right.
But you also can't
Right.
only take care of them, because if you do that, you're going to suffer and they're never going to see the best.
That's a beautiful reminder, though. So by not taking care of ourselves the way in a way we must, right? We won't be whole for them. So the relationship will just not be the same. And I agree. There's something about, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But there's something about hormones, though. Sometimes I remember asking that question. What are human beings all about? I think I asked long ago to somebody. And I remember this person said, hormones, that's what we are. We are hormones. Whatever the hormones wanted to communicate to the body, it will. Is that true, though? Do you feel that way too? That we kind of
I
driven by
think
hormones?
so. That's a fun question, but it's also difficult to answer. Let me elaborate a little. So I understand why someone would answer the question that way. Like, hey, if your hormones tell you you're hungry, if they tell you you want to snuggle, if they tell you you want to sleep, I think it's a little more complicated than just hormones, though, because
Mm,
especially in adult life, like, I think the younger
yeah.
you are, the more, I hate to say this, but the more like robotic you are. And what I mean by that is
Mm,
you're very much a
yeah.
product of your
Right.
hunger cues, your neurotransmitters, and your hormones.
Right.
And as we age, like the amount of love, the amount of trauma, the environment
Mm,
that we're in, like how healthy is your environment? Is there mold in the walls? Are you getting sunshine?
right.
All of those things, they impact how we respond to stimuli, and how we create those hormones. So in a way, your hormones are sort of a product of your nutrition, and they're a
Mm,
product of your stress response, and your stress response is a product of your upbringing and your epidemiology. And so even like what your grandpa ate when he was 13 years old, Valeria,
right.
that impacts your flight or
Mm,
fight response. And if somebody's yelling at you and running after you, do you fight? Do you run? Do you get really scared? Do you feel brave and
yeah.
confident? All of those things.
Yeah.
So yes, we are our hormones, but we're so much more than that.
Mm,
We are. I think it's a balance of nature and nurture. It's what we eat. It's where we
yeah.
sleep. It's who we're with, and it all plays into our neurotransmitters, our hormones, how much of those we have, and how they behave.
It's so true. Yes. I'm glad you said that too. It's not just hormones. So there's different also factors, right? We are not just, yeah, machines like that, that we're just driven by hormones. But I feel that as we get older, like in my case, 48, I feel the influence of hormones. But in my, yeah, I meditate a lot. I do a lot of spiritual work, and I'm very much into the, listening. So I noticed that I become a lot more truthful when the hormones are kind of changing. And I interview a lot of people about this. They're educators too in the area. And they told me that that's because progesterone, because that's kind of decreases. And then now you become a lot more, let's say, aware of the things that are not working. Kind of for you, but against you, your relationships, your environment, like you said, the food, whatever it is. Is that something that you also kind of look into? I would love to hear from you because I just interviewed somebody about that, and she mentioned progesterone. Yeah, like for women like me and my audience, most of them are perimenopause or menopausal. So
Yeah,
I'd
that's
love to
a
hear from
that's a great question, and another one that I
you.
would say has a little bit of a tricky answer in it. It's interesting how you asked me that. Most people would say like, "Oh, when progesterone drops, you experience these symptoms, and they're very physical." I like that you're bringing up the more like thought and spirituality. Like it's not it when the physical changes, the mental changes and the spiritual changes.
Mhm.
So I always consider that like a triangle, right?
Mm.
Not
Mm.
physical health,
Yes.
spiritual health, and mental health. So it,
Yes.
when I think this is more true for women because of perimenopause and menopause. When progesterone drops, I
Mm.
think progesterone. I like to think of it this way: progesterone keeps you comfortable. Like when you have enough, it keeps you very comfortable, and this gets really complicated in a rabbit hole really fast, so I don't want to go too deep into it, but it drives certain behaviors, right? Because it at the end of the day, it's very closely linked to like reproduction, right? And
Mm.
so
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
progesterone drops, and it doesn't have to drop so drastically that you're miserable, like we talked about this a little bit before our call today. If you're healthy and happy and nurtured,
Mm.
you are taking great care of yourself and hydrated and sleeping well, you're probably going to have a much easier time with progesterone dropping.
Right.
And it won't drop as wildly, and you won't experience a lot of the symptoms that some women do when they go through peri and menopause. But to
Yeah.
answer your question, the idea that it would make you more aware of what's not working for you, I love that you brought that up because I think
Yeah.
the more comfortable we are, the more tolerant we are, and the more we don't notice maybe like a thorn in our side or something bothering us.
Yes.
But when that changes, we're much
Yeah.
more acutely aware of, like you said, what is causing discomfort, what's causing stress, and again, I could
Mm.
go on and on, but yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense that when certain hormones drop, especially progesterone, that you're going to become much more aware of things that aren't working in your life. And I think, they often say that menopause is like, it's like when women like, and I don't want to be like reductionist or sexist or anything,
Mm.
but they often
Yeah.
become much wiser. It's like, it's often
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
anyway. And I think the wiser you are, the more aware you are, the
Mm.
more you notice things in your environment and in your diet and even the people around you that are supportive, and maybe also the ones that just aren't working for you.
Mm. Yeah. Gosh. Thank you, James. I just you clarified so much for me here. So what I'm wondering is, are there some people are some people created in a way designed born with higher levels of natural progesterone where they are always seeing the most the positive things, always picking up the positive. It has been my case. I got myself in trouble many times by not really seeing the truth, like what it was for it you know um, well, I was under the delusion that that would be kind of good for me, but it wasn't in many instances. So
Hmm.
I'm just wondering now. I never asked this question before. You just kind of this is coming up. Is there such a thing as like people with higher levels of natural progesterone, where they are always projecting in a way reality in a different way? Has been my case, always in a positive way.
Interesting. Another super interesting question, and here's what I'll say about that. So I've been a like what I'd say like a functional nutritionist for many years. I've had many clients, whether they were in the aisles of a health food store or in my office or over the phone, whatever it was. And one of the tests that functional medicine physicians will run is called a Dutch test, DUTCH. And it's essentially, you can do different types of Dutch testing, but the most common Dutch test is a female hormone panel. And it's generally done over a period of time. And so it shows where is your estrogen, where is your progesterone, where is estradiol, and so on over like your cycle, right? You know, I don't want to go down rabbit holes and start throwing out scientific terms, but what I saw in Dutch test results, and keep in mind, I'm not an endocrinologist. I generally, if someone was concerned about hormone levels, I would send them to an endocrinologist or a functional medicine physician. I tend to focus
Yes.
more on nutrition, but I've seen
Yeah.
hundreds of Dutch tests come in from different women of every age, teenagers,
Wow.
senior citizens, perimenopause, menopause. And I will tell you, like what you just said, yes, there are women who have staggeringly different levels of progesterone and estrogen throughout every life phase. Now,
Wow.
the second part of
Mm.
your question was, do those hormone levels impact like their attitude toward the world
Yeah.
and the way
Yeah.
they perceive the world and experience the world? I would say yes. I'm not a woman, and I can't say that I've experienced this myself, like high estrogen, low estrogen, high progesterone,
Mm.
low progesterone. Um, I bet,
Yeah.
I would argue that yes,
Mm. Mm.
there are some people that just nascently, whether it's genetics or environment or nutrition or birth control pills, whatever it is, something in their
Yeah.
nurturing or something in their nature or environment has impacted this, even if it's like, again, epigenetics. Um,
Right.
that causes these different levels. And yeah, they experience life very differently, I think, at every stage. But I couldn't proclaim to say that, oh, yes, Valeria, every time you have higher progesterone,
Mhm.
you tend to see the positive. I think it's more
Yeah.
complex than that because you could have high, say, high progesterone, but also maybe low dopamine and serotonin. So I think in some cases you could still maybe feel some malaise or melancholy, even though you had healthy or high progesterone levels. And then the opposite is
Right.
some women have, let's say terribly low progesterone, maybe even like low libido, but they've got great dopamine and serotonin, and their cortisol isn't too high. So maybe they don't have all the building blocks of progesterone,
Right.
but all of the other building blocks are in order, so they feel pretty good and they've got a positive outlook. So I think there's a lot of
Right.
puzzle pieces that are in play there.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you for answering that question too, which really clarifies for me when you say that you saw that in the test that some women they do have higher levels of
Oh yeah,
progesterone.
yeah. There's no you've
Mm.
what
Mm.
what conventional medicine will call like a healthy range, but then you've got people
Yeah.
like way above that range, way below that range, and then people that kind of go
Yeah.
up and down on
Yeah.
something. Yeah, and it's true with nutrition as well. Like when you're talking about vitamin D, when you're talking about vitamin
Mhm.
12, every nutrient often has like an acceptable range that allopathic medicine says is where you should be. But oftentimes
Yeah.
that's way too low or way too high. And that's why often like the RDI, the recommended daily intake of nutrition, feeds into that. But functional
Right.
medicine has an ODI, an optimal daily intake, and perhaps that's what we should be looking at. So, yeah, I think
Mhm.
I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll slow down. But there's an optimal range that your doctor might tell you is optimal. But then if you go see
Yeah.
like a functional medicine physician or like a real hormone expert who specializes in female hormones and not somebody who just came out of like, let's say, Pfizer funded medical school, they
Yeah.
have a very different optimal range.
That's true. Yeah. So it depends where we're getting the source, well, the information. The source
Yeah.
is really important.
Mhm.
Yes, I love education for that reason. Although I have to do some exams, it has been a long time since I've done all those tests.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I feel really healthy most of the time, so I don't feel the need to see doctors or do exams. But maybe I should as I get older, right?
I think the
But yeah, I
Dutch,
also don't like.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Dutch panel is a good one to look at if you're curious about your own
Yeah.
level or a friend or family.
Yes, I am the Dutch panel. Okay, I don't have a. I will remember that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to write
I'll,
it
I'll
down
email
here.
I'll email you a link.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about the company that you work for. So it's Pure TheraPro, and I take supplements all the time, and I buy from different companies. So I'm wondering if I could switch. So let me see how, yeah, listening to you, how that resonates. So talk to me like from my age, for example, I take multivitamins every day. So I'm trying to, yeah, health, general health, but also hormones. That will be very important. So I
Mhm.
have the multivitamins every day. I take vitamin C. I take a magnesium. I take another one, a B complex. I take that too. And I take omega 3. Gosh, I take a lot of supplements.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
so
So,
yeah.
what? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah. I can't wait to hear about your shopping list.
Yeah.
That's what I'm very interested in.
I got a little
Yes.
excited there, and I wanted to chime in. Like you thought you took a lot of supplements, but I'll tell you, myself, the founders of my company, Pure TheraPro, I think we
Yeah.
probably take a. We're supplement geeks, we call ourselves, and we
Oh,
probably take a
wow.
lot more than you. We also have customers that take, like 10, 11, 12 different things. I think it can get to be too much. Like, I think you're
Yeah.
probably taking the perfect amount, like just like your everyday essentials.
Yes.
And then if you have a specific, like if you hurt your elbow or you
Mhm.
find out you have high cholesterol, in those instances, like you're taking your daily essentials and then you can add in something ancillary to those essentials if you're trying to
Right.
target a specific issue. And so
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
supplement regimen looks very similar to yours. I take a multivitamin, I do a zinc, I do magnesium, I do omega 3s every day. So I
Yeah.
don't do the B complexes. I find I get way over energized from taking more B vitamins. I'll get so energized they'll
Oh,
make me jittery and like a little anxious. So if I
yeah.
do take a B vitamin, I like to do like a weaker dose, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're probably taking the perfect amount. And
Good.
I'm going to let you like ask a follow up question because if you let me, I'll talk for 3 hours about the supplements I take
Oh,
and why. But yeah, like anything you're curious about Pure TheraPro, feel free to ask me. I love talking about it.
yes. So that's my question. Now that you know what I take every day, like if I want to switch, because they are different brands. Well, I do one. I won't mention the brand here because I'm not affiliated with them. I
Sure,
just
sure.
I try different ones and it feels really good. I pay attention to my body. I'm always listening. So that brand feels really good. So
Hmm.
if I wanted to switch to your company and I want to target that hormone balance, I wanted my hormones to be more balanced at 48.
Hmm.
So, what would you suggest?
Yeah, well, let me try to be concise. So I
Yeah.
think when it comes to hormones, like the building blocks of hormones are arguably cholesterol and B vitamins,
Mm,
right? And cholesterol can be obtained through the diet, right? Like I think for decades, especially in America, for decades, the United States Department of Agriculture, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association demonized dietary cholesterol, whether that and saturated fats too, from like coconut oil or palm fruit or wherever it's from, even like chocolate, right? They kind of demonized these saturated fats and dietary cholesterol, but those are
right.
essential. Those are just absolutely essential for healthy brain, healthy cell membranes, and to build hormones. Vitamin C
Mm,
is really important for hormone production as well. Of course, many other nutrients, but we'll focus on those. So if I was going to review your supplement lineup without like knowing the name of the company
mm,
and tell you if you needed to switch or not, here's what I would encourage you or anyone listening to do is look at, you're saying that this company feels great and you may have one of the best ones out there, right? Like if if I was like a Lexus salesperson, right? And you drove a Mercedes or a BMW or a Volvo, it might be kind of hard for me to get you to switch because you already drive a great car. Sure,
mm,
there are differences
right.
between them. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's like a luxury import, well driving vehicle. Supplements are a
Right.
little different though, and let me explain what I mean by that. So we are a very unique company. I don't want to come off. I'm a marketer, I admit. But I also
Mm,
don't want to come
yeah.
off as like like over promoting our company or a shill or something. But I do like to
Yeah.
share what's unique about us because I think it's important for everyone when they evaluate their own supplements. So the most unique thing about Pure TheraPro, there's lots of things about us that make us unique, and I can share those later if you're interested. But the most unique thing about us is that we do not use fillers, flow agents, excipients, or masking agents, or any other
Mm,
additives such as colors, binders, and so on
yeah.
at all in
Yeah.
our products.
Wow.
And the reason that's important, I'm going to list off some of the chemicals that other companies use. So, magnesium stearate is probably the most common. Silicon
Mm,
dioxide, which it can be sand, it can be contaminated. Um, Methyl cellulose, usually wood pulp, and how that's harvested and what it's treated with can be concerning if you don't buy it from a company you trust. Titanium dioxide is a heavy metal. Talc,
oh,
talcum or talc, I'm sure you've seen in certain supplements, especially like the Chinese herbal remedies. That has been linked to, unfortunately, it's been shown to be carcinogenic in certain studies, and there was a huge lawsuit against Johnson and Johnson baby powder due to that
mm, oh,
scientific.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's all like carnauba wax, caramel color, which is burnt ammonia. I could go on and on about these fillers,
Wow.
flow agents, excipients, and
Yeah.
rice starch. Don't get me wrong, I love rice. I think if you're like a carnivore
Yeah.
keto diet, you're probably avoiding it. But if you're going to eat rice and you're really trying to optimize your health, you want to make sure you're eating organic and it's low arsenic. Like it's been tested for arsenic and found to be low. Because
Right.
unfortunately, a lot of rice is grown in soil that's really high in inorganic
Yes.
arsenic, which is incredibly toxic. And so
Yeah.
when companies add rice starch to supplements, all I can, my God, that's not organic. And it's probably super high in inorganic arsenic, which is just a recipe for disaster. And what
Right.
makes it worse is when you add something like, consider your multivitamin. You might be taking it once, twice, three times a day, whatever it is. If you're taking these binders, fillers, flow agents, excipients, rice starch,
Oh.
if you're taking these things three times a day in five different capsules and tablets,
Mm,
every
mm,
all year for the next 10 years,
mm,
how
mm,
many handfuls, how many buckets full of
mm.
inflammatory, toxic, heavy metal? I don't want to be a sensationalist, but sometimes these things are poisonous. Like
Oh,
your
yeah.
body has to deal with that and detoxify it,
Mm,
store it, and it can be damaged by it. It can be inflamed by it,
right.
especially if you've ever had digestive issues like IBS or
Right.
autoimmunity or mold exposure, chronic inflammatory response.
Mm,
Um, these
yeah.
ing- these ingredients can be terrible for those people. And so
Right.
I'm rambling again, and let me just wrap it up with this. Look at your product.
Yes.
And underneath the supplement facts panel, where it tells you, like, hey, it's 100 milligrams of thiamine and 200 milligrams of, where it tells you how much of the nutrient is in there, look underneath that. So it's going to
Oh.
say, in,
Mm,
and you read those other ingredients and you see what did the brand that I'm buying put with the nutrients that I'm taking. Did they add magnesium stearate, rice starch, silicone dioxide,
yeah.
and other fillers and flow agents? Because if they did, I would take a pause there and consider. So I admit I'll take some products that have a filler or two, um, largely because it's
Yeah.
avoidable. Like unless you're buying from my company or one of the very few companies out there that's what I would call clean label, it's almost impossible to avoid it, right? Um,
Yeah.
like pesticides, even if you eat all organic, there's drift from farms, right? So it's very difficult
Yes.
to avoid completely. But look at that other ingredients section, see what's there, and then ask yourself, why did they put that in? Why are they adding these ingredients? It's not for your health. It's not. The only reason those ingredients are in there is to make that product look full, to make the capsule look full, right?
Mm,
Because
wow.
in America, we open a bottle, we want the capsule to look full. Otherwise, we feel like we didn't get our money's worth. Uh,
Yeah, that's not.
so what they do is add powder into the capsule to make it look full.
My
And the
God.
other reason they do it is because when you buy a bottle of capsules, a machine filled those capsules, and that's fine. Machines can be wonderful. But
Yeah.
the machine wants the powder to flow smoothly and evenly. And when you're dealing with something like B vitamins or green tea extract or lychee fruit extract or a mineral like zinc or copper, sometimes they don't flow like sand. Like sand just, an hourglass flows every time.
Right.
But if you
Yeah.
take collagen powder and put that in an hourglass, what happens? Does it flow like sand? Absolutely not. And so they add these excipients and flow agents to your capsule to adulterate the powder to get it to flow
Wow.
easier. So it's a
Wow.
manufacturing trick, it's a shortcut, and it comes at the cost of your health. You're probably paying extra, right? Because they have to pay for these fillers and flow agents. So that was a long-winded answer, and I apologize, but that's the number one thing I would tell you to do. And the next thing I would tell you to do, especially living in Hawaii, you've probably heard of this before. Maybe consider doing some muscle testing. Not everybody
Mm,
agrees with that or believes in it,
yeah,
but
I
if
agree.
you've got a chiropractor that's trained in kinesiology,
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah.
Try our formula versus a competitor or one you love, and just see how what turns out there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 A billion times. Thank you. I love education. Yeah, coming from wisdom. So that's it. Come wisdom. I usually use wisdom in the sense of it's coming from knowledge that's being applied. So it's
Mhm.
something that you have experience with. You're not just saying because you read somewhere because
Right.
you have tried it in your body. Yeah, you know. Yeah, I'm curious about the. Yeah, I'll take a look at my supplements, of course. But you said about the flowing. So if it doesn't flow, that means it's pure. Is that the rule?
Well, it's not.
I'm
I guess what
wondering.
I mean by that is because some things will flow easily, right? Other things tend to be like fluffier and they want to cake up a little, or they're very
Uh,
hygroscopic, meaning they readily absorb moisture from the atmosphere, and they'll change color, and then they won't want to flow as easily. And so, yes, I don't know if it's as simple as if it flows, it's not pure, because some things, even when they're very pure, flow. What I
right,
again, I think it's all about looking at the other ingredients section and seeing
right.
what's in there. The other
That's
way you
the
can
thing.
often tell that the company has added fillers. It's not foolproof, but if every single capsule is uniformly filled to the brim, that's a good way to tell that your product is
Mm,
adulterated. Unless,
mm,
not every time, because sometimes the capsule fits 500 milligrams of powder and they just
yeah.
happen to fit 500 milligrams exactly of, say, magnesium or something like that in there, and it just happens to fill it up all the way. But usually, it's a 200 milligram capsule,
Mm,
and there's only 180 milligrams of active ingredient, and so there should be a gap in that capsule. The capsule should not be completely full, and if it is, it's because they added a bunch of other powder in there. They've added rice starch, magnesium
mm.
stearate, silicon dioxide, and that other stuff we talked about.
Yes, I'll take a look at that too. But yeah, the first thing is to look at the ingredients. That's something that I have been doing my entire life. Yeah, every
Yep.
time I buy something, I always look. Yeah, so I'll take a look at that. That's one. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you, since your background is nutrition, I was told in a very simple way that for when it comes to food, the healthiest way is to eat. If you're not, no, she said, if you're not hungry for protein, that means you're not hungry. You will be eating from a different place, emotional or hormones, whatever it won't be healthy for you. Is that something that because I do like some starch, like for sleep, for example, it really helps at nighttime. Sweet potatoes, I really like. I stopped with rice because yeah, the arsenic. I like brown
Hmm.
rice, but it's kind of not easy to find. And with white rice, there's too much starch. I don't do well with that.
Hmm.
So yeah, sweet potatoes. But even that, she said, if you're craving it or if you want to eat that just because that means no, it's not good for you. Is that something? Yeah, talk to me about that, James, from your perspective.
Yeah, so my perspective is probably, this is one of those things where I think if you ask 100 nutritionists and health gurus, what is the perfect diet, and even like
Yeah.
what of day should you eat, you might get
Mm,
100 different answers, but I'll readily
mhm.
share my
Wow.
feelings here. So
Yeah.
that's a really interesting and unique take on it. If you're not hungry for protein, then your body doesn't actually need nutrition.
Right.
That's a really
Right.
interesting take. And I like to think about things like deeply and abstractly. And I could see how that could be the case. And just like
Mm,
back that up, I've read
yeah.
many times that eating can be a very emotional. And if you're craving
Mm,
crunch, that often means you're lonely. If you're craving sugar, that
yeah.
may often mean that you have very low blood sugar, which
Mm,
is, not ideal. Like if your blood sugar is too low,
yeah.
something is wrong metabolically. It's not necessarily that
Mm,
you need food, because no, in a perfectly healthy body, even
yeah.
if you're 2 hours past mealtime, your body should be able to keep your blood sugar regulated using
Mm,
gluconeogenesis and cortisol, right? And that's
right.
not ideal. Like, ideally, you would never allow your blood sugar to drop low enough to trigger cortisol to
Mm,
start breaking down muscle tissue and using up
right.
your glycogen stores, right?
Right.
Ideally, you would always just have abundant nutrition, and that would never happen. But
Right.
if your body isn't functioning perfectly metabolically, then yeah, your blood sugar can drop too low, and you're going to be like craving ice cream and orange juice and
Mm,
cookies and candy. But there
yeah.
are other things so I would say like metabolic um, disorder can cause those carbohydrate cravings, but there are other things
Mm.
that can cause carbohydrate cravings, and they are candida. I'm sure you're familiar with candida
Mm.
overgrowth.
I
It's
heard
a
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a yeast that it lives all throughout our bodies. It's in our digestive tracts primarily, but it can be in our sinuses. It can be in the vaginal tract. It can be in your
Yeah.
fingernails and in your eyes. It can be everywhere. But candida can kind of hijack your hormones and your neurotransmitters to make you crave sugar because it wants sugar. Parasites can do the
Mm,
same thing. They can
mm,
literally release chemicals and toxins that kind of hijack the brain. Like, I
mm,
guess what I'll call like the HPA axis or the brain gut connection, and they will make
yeah.
you crave sugar, because that's
Right.
what or even alcohol, because they thrive off of alcohol and sugar and the metabolic byproducts of those foods. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's really interesting that you talk to someone who said, if you're not hungry for protein, then you don't actually need food. I can see how that would be the case. And
Yeah.
generally, when I'm hungry, I'm usually craving something protein rich and usually savory, like salty. I don't
Yeah, she
crave
said
sweets.
that.
I don't crave sweets very often, but sometimes
Yeah.
after a meal, like having like some yogurt with honey and some like
Mm, yeah.
coconut, like that can be a nice
Yeah.
treat. And I admit I crave those sometimes, but is that just like emotional craving? I'm gonna say
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. I love
um,
how honest you are. Yeah.
yeah,
That helps
yeah,
with the humanness, right? We're all humans, and
yeah. We
it's
crave
still a
comfort.
mystery. Yeah,
Hmm.
isn't it, James? The body is such a complex organism. It's so complex that even to this day, you see scientists try. I mean, we're all trying to figure out, even living our own bodies and trying to understand what it wants and how it works, and it's not easy. Um, so I love your honesty. That's one thing. Yeah. So gosh, what's the question that I have next? So where do we go from here when it comes to nutrition and supplements? Do we really need supplements, and when do we need them?
Yeah. So I think the first part of the question, nutrition, I think you got to go with your gut. I mean, no pun intended by that, but you have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
I've been in the health and wellness vertical for 23 years. I have been
Wow.
a vegan. I have been a vegetarian. I have gone carnivore. I have done intermittent fasting. I did the master cleanse for 43 days. Um,
Yeah.
some of those things, I'm sure you've tried. I will say that
Oh,
some
yeah.
of them made me worse and some of
Mm-hmm.
them made me better. I have
Right.
settled into, and it's not for everybody. I'll tell you where I'm at. I've settled into a place where my macros are pretty balanced. I eat higher protein now than I ever have before, probably in my life.
Yeah.
And I tend
Yeah.
to do less sugar now. So I think a higher protein, lower sugar diet with some complex carbs and fiber is what's right for me. That
Right.
said, you're going to talk to people that are raw vegan and thriving. And perhaps it's like just where they're at in life, spiritually, metabolically, nutritionally. I don't think that's
Yes.
for everybody. I think for some people that can actually be dangerous and terrible. And for
Right.
other people, they
Right.
can really thrive on it. I would say the same thing about the carnivore diet. So the opposite of raw vegan would be like the carnivore diet, where you eat nothing but like meat and raw egg, eggs and raw milk. Um, I think that can be very healing for some people, especially if they've had devastating autoimmune diseases, mold exposure, IBS, and
Mm-hmm.
digestive issues, because plant chemicals, especially grains and nuts and beans like lectins and different proteins like gluten, um,
Yeah.
they can be incredibly inflammatory, especially if you've ever had leaky gut and resultant autoimmunity. So your body can develop and often does develop an immune response to compounds in beans and in grains, and when it does that, pretty much every meal you eat will make you feel yucky and keep you feeling yucky. And for
Wow.
those people, if you're one of these people who's having all of these autoimmune responses to your food, I should say food sensitivities that are triggering autoimmune responses.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
autoimmunity, your immune system is attacking your own body because it's so inflamed and confused. I think for
Yeah.
those people, the carnivore diet can be quite healing for a time, like just long enough perhaps to heal the gut and calm down the immune system.
Yeah.
I tend
Yeah.
to think, and this is me, this is my individual feelings. My
Yeah.
coworkers, my founders, they may feel differently. I just want to make that clear. But I
Right.
tend to think
Yeah.
that the carnivore diet is low in calcium and magnesium, and it's very acidic. And I do think
Mm.
that you can't just pay
Yes.
attention to macros. You've got to pay attention to macros, micronutrients, pH. You want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin K2 and magnesium. Because if you're not getting enough of those micronutrients, your body's going to, it's going to rob Peter to pay Paul, I believe is the saying.
Right.
So when you're
Mm.
super acidic from eating like nothing but meat, you've got all this uric acid in your bloodstream. Uric acid is what causes gout, right? Like people that maybe drink too much beer and eat
Oh.
too much meat sometimes get gout. You've got all this uric acid in your bloodstream, and your blood doesn't want to be that acidic. And so it's going to leach calcium and magnesium and
Mm.
especially phosphorus from your bones to balance
Oh.
the pH of your blood. Um,
Yeah.
Over time, I feel like that could lead to osteopenia and osteoporosis and faster aging. So yeah, I think you've got, in my opinion, if you've addressed things like leaky gut, autoimmunity,
Yeah.
candida, and parasites, if you've addressed, and in some cases like viral infections like Lyme disease, if you've already addressed those, I think a balanced diet with protein, complex carbs, fats is probably right for you. But if not, whether it's emotional or spiritual or physical challenges, you may find that a vegan diet is right for you, or a carnivore diet is right for you, or even a juice fast is right for you. I think that's a really personal choice. And if you're not comfortable making that choice, on your own, working with a physician, a functional medicine physician, or like a functional nutritionist can help you decide what's right for you. Sometimes even some blood tests, like what are your nutrient levels? Are you
Mm.
allergic to certain foods? Those can help you figure out what
Yeah.
to eat as well. So I apologize for the long answer. It's just such an
Oh no.
important such an important question, and such a complicated topic. The next part of your question was supplements. Do we really need them? I'm going to try to be fast on this answer, just so I don't, you know, um, drive your
Okay.
listeners crazy with my long answers. But I think the
It's
answer
okay.
is yes. We need supplements, and here's why. Even if you eat a perfect diet, it's not the same as it was 50 years ago, and it's certainly
Wow.
not the same as 100 years ago. Do you know what I'm going to talk about here? Soil depletion.
Yes, I have an idea.
So
Yes, I. Yeah. Yeah.
whether it's
Yes.
corn or oranges or cabbage or romaine lettuce, everything we are growing in our soil,
Yes.
especially factory farms, is lower in nutrition. It's lower in vitamin A, it's lower in vitamin
Uh,
C, it's lower in iron. That's all lower in nutrients, okay? And it gets more
yeah.
interesting
True.
than that. Here's why. If you eat meat and animal products, eggs, cheese, steaks, turkey, whatever it is, if you eat
Yeah.
meat, those animals are also eating the
Mm,
depleted food. So they're getting there's lower nutrition in
yeah.
their bodies. And so when you eat a steak now, it's lower in B vitamins, it's lower in thiamine, it's lower in
Mm,
iron, it's lower in B12 than it was
yeah.
when your grandmother ate it or your grandfather ate it. So
Yeah.
we are getting less nutrients from our produce, our fruit and vegetables. We are getting less nutrients from our animal products, our fats, our proteins, our eggs, our cheese. And here's the kicker. This is what really makes it a vicious cycle, okay? And this is the part that I hope everybody keeps in mind kind of for the rest of their lives.
Mm,
No matter how, even if you live in Hawaii, even if you have, even if you live on like a health retreat, we have
yeah.
more stress and toxins and pollution, whether it's air, water, food, soil, whatever it is. We have more
Yeah.
stress and pollution in our lives than any generation in human history right now, today.
Mm,
Right now, today.
true.
We have
Yeah.
Wi Fi, we have blue light, we have LED and fluorescent lights. We're glued to computer screens and phone screens with 5G,
Yeah.
4G, EMF,
Yeah.
microwaves, video game, Bluetooth, AirPods in our ears. So we are
True.
getting all of this EMF, all of this radiation, ionizing or otherwise, all day long. That
Right.
increases stress and it increases damage to our body and brain. It takes
Yeah.
nutrition to repair that damage. Okay. We
Mm,
also have more noise, more traffic, more cortisol, more bad news on TV and on Twitter and in Instagram. We have more jealousy and envy. And again, speaking of Instagram,
mm,
and Twitter, we're looking at perfect
mm,
bodies and people swimsuit models, and oh, we don't look like that. We're so sad. So
yeah.
there's just more physical and emotional and even spiritual stress today than there ever has been in human history. So we have all this
Yeah.
pollution, all this stress, lower nutrition in our food. All of those, I believe. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I want this information to empower people. I
Mhm.
want
Yeah.
it to not scare you about the world you live in. The world we live in is the world we live in. We've got to deal with it the way it is,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
can and should all work to make it better. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
until it becomes a paradise on earth, we have to counteract that. We have to do the best we can for our bodies. And so
Mm,
I believe that,
mm,
taking like you, I believe that your approach is probably perfect. Taking a B complex, taking a multivitamin, unless you're eating fish 3 times a week, probably taking some omega-3 fatty acids,
yeah.
and
I do.
probably taking a magnesium as well,
Mhm.
is a
Yeah.
great place for most people to start to,
Yeah.
even just so if you were only going to take one thing, I would say make it a methylated multivitamin. I don't
Mm,
have time today to talk about why methylated is more important. Please take my word
yeah.
for it that many multivitamins contain synthetic folate and B12, and those can be useless, or even worse, outright toxic to 40 to 50
Yeah.
percent of the adult population in America. So your multivitamin could be making your health worse if it's not methylated. I
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, I won't talk more about that unless we have time and you want to ask me later. But if you're only going to take one thing, make it a methylated multivitamin. If you've got the budget and room in your supplement cabinet for a few things,
Yeah.
I would do what you're doing, Valeria. I would do
Yeah.
the multi, the magnesium, the omega 3s. And then if you have issues like joint pain, gut pain, fine lines and wrinkles that you want to address, you can consider adding in other things like collagen or a product for joint health and so on.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. I love how generous you are. That's what it is, really. You're very it's because I see as a giving. So you're giving information that's important, coming from your own experience and honesty. It's your heart. So you're just giving, and I can sense that,
I appreciate it.
and I really appreciate that. No, I appreciate that too. Thank you. um, the end of our conversation, I want to, Lisa, I want to mention your website again. It's Pure Thera. Oh, purethera.com. Is that your website?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Pro is not there. Oh, it's not. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, right. Pure.
just Pure Thera. Yep, we're so I often just refer to our company as Pure Thera. We are Pure TheraPro Rx is the full company name, but we often abbreviate
Right.
it as Pure TheraPro or just Pure Thera. And you can find us on Instagram at Pure Thera. Our website is www.purethera.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by typing in Pure Thera. So yeah, we're everywhere. People are browsing. We're trying to get the word out, and just share our education with people. You can sign up for our email list if you're interested. Yeah.
Yes, that too. That's really wonderful. I know you offer discount code. Is that a discount code? I know you call Vanity, but I just removed that. No, no, no. You don't have to use Vanity in a sense of using the name of the company. That's okay too, obviously. It's just a word thing. So yeah, discount code. If you wanted to mention that, then I can add in the podcast notes for later on,
Yeah. So
when before we publish this.
good. Yeah. The
So,
code is Fit for Joy 10. Fit for Joy 10.
mm,
We'll give your
oh, great.
listeners 10% off their first purchase.
That's wonderful to know. So it's easy. So Fit for Joy 10. And I'll have you on the podcast list too, on the podcast notes. A question that I had for you, the final thoughts. Do you have anything else that you want to close this with? Anything that you left unsaid? I do have a question for you though, an ending
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I don't feel like I have anything left unsaid. Honestly, I think we've had a great conversation. I was happy to be able to
Yes,
share
you
everything
did.
I did. Yeah, I can't think of like, oh, I should have said this. So yeah, feel free if you've got a last question, I'd love to answer it.
I do. The question that I usually ask a lot of my guests, and I have just kind of not recently, I have not been asking that question, but I will ask you. Um, so, what three experiences you wish everyone to have before they die? What are
Wow,
the
that's a
three
big
most
one.
important?
I'm gonna I'm gonna do my best to answer that for you, Valeria. And I don't want to sound cheesy here. I don't want to sound cheesy.
Mm,
I hope, if I could make a wish for everyone in the world to experience three things, one would be abundance. And these are in no particular order, but one would be abundance.
mm,
And what I mean by that is I am a very empathetic person. And when people are suffering due to like, money insecurity or food insecurity or lack of shelter, that's actually it's painful for me to know that
yeah,
people are experiencing that, especially when I'm like right there next to it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I hope that everybody can experience like comfort and security and be at peace, like not be afraid that they don't know where their next meal is coming from or they don't know where they're going to sleep tonight. And I think, you and I might take that for granted, but so many people don't. And so
yeah.
whether they're
Mm,
here or in another country, I hope that everybody can experience abundance and comfort. And then along with that, I think abundance and comfort only go so far. Not everybody needs another person to round themselves out. So whether that person is like a best friend or a husband or a wife or a partner, whatever you want to call it, I hope, or even like a grandchild, like just someone in their life that they love and want
yeah,
to nurture. And if it's not a person, it could be a pet or a house plant. I know that sounds silly, but like even just having a
yeah.
plant, like I've got these big, beautiful plants next to my desk. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can show them to you.
Oh,
No, it's not
yeah.
gonna work.
You probably
Um,
will show. Oh,
but yeah,
yeah. I would like love to see it. I
you
love
can talk to
nature.
them,
Mm.
you can sing to them, you can walk and take care of them,
Oh,
just like pets,
yeah.
just like pets. So I would say like someone
Mm.
or something that you can nurture and take care of and love with all your heart, right? So that's number two.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the third one is health. Like I
Yeah.
lost my health twice, two health crises,
Yeah.
and I had to fight really hard to get it back. And I think again, if you're a healthy person, you probably take your health for granted. But if you've lost your health, you would trade anything in the you trade. I think there are a lot of people in this country and around the world that would trade their car, that would trade their 401k, that would trade their house. They would trade you anything because, and again, this sounds cheesy, but it's true. Nothing is more valuable than your health. When we're 75 years old,
Yeah.
and let's say you have a few $100,000 in your retirement account, you'd probably
Yeah.
trade every penny of it. If you had like a big stroke or a health issue, you'd probably trade every penny of that money to get your health back. And
Right.
so I think the three things I wish everybody are just comfort and abundance, someone or something to love, and health. And
Mm.
if I could offer a last piece of advice, it'd be start taking care
Yeah.
of your health today. You know, like
Mm.
whether it's supplements or taking a walk in the sun, whether it's buying a water filter, whatever you need to do to level up and do a better job of taking care of your health. Start today because you are worth it, and you know the longer you put it off, the more you're going to regret it later.
So true. I also love your wisdom. Yeah, you're very young, but I think wisdom doesn't come really, has nothing to do with age. I know sometimes we talk that, I think off record, about getting older and becoming wiser.
Yep.
I have met a lot of young people who are very, very wise. So you are one of them. Thank you
I,
so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah. And you come from the heart too. I felt it. It's truly, truly beautiful. We need more of this presence in businesses in general because it's not separate from life, right? It's not doing business here and then my personal life is here. I tend to put everything together in the blender. My life is my business. Everything is one. It's not disconnected. So
I,
thank you for doing that too. I can sense it. So thank you so much for your beautiful presence and everything that you shared here. And the website will be there, the discount code too. And for now, thank you so much. We'll talk soon, James. We'll be in touch again, just for
my
now. But I'll talk to you off
pleasure.
record, just for the record. Yes. Bye for now.
Bye.